Bob Mueller indicted 2 people for obstruction today. This is the 5th time Mueller's charged or secured guilty pleas from people for crimes related to obstruction in this Russia probe. And this move comes exactly a year to the day that James Comey testified for the first and really, well, it was the only time he ever testified about another type of potential obstruction, presidential obstruction. Comey telling Congress he thought Trump tried to direct him to drop the criminal investigation of Mike Flynn.
I took it as a direction.
Right.
I mean, this is the President of the United States with me alone saying, I hope this. I took it as this is what he wants me to do. Now, I didn't obey that, but that's the way I took it.
Now, that was pretty damning testimony. Comey alleging Trump tried to commit obstruction but couldn't pull it off because Comey would not obey. Now, when pressed on whether those conversations were an effort to legally obstruct justice, Comey was measured. After all, it's up to Mueller and perhaps a legal process to decide if a president obstructs. It's not up to a single witness in a case, which is what Comey became after his firing.
I don't think it's for me to say whether the conversation I had with the president was an effort to obstruct. I took it as a very disturbing thing, very concerning, but that's a conclusion I'm sure the special counsel will work towards to try and understand what the intention was there and whether that's an offense.
And the special counsel has been working towards that conclusion for Manafort, Flynn, Kimmel-Nick, who I mentioned was indicted today, Van der Zwaan, Papadopoulos, Gates, and many of Mueller's proposed questions for Trump bear down on what he said and meant when talking to Comey. Meantime, Trump's lawyers arguing now that 1, there's no obstruction if the probe continued, 2, Trump didn't say the Russia probe should end, and 3, presidents have the constitutional authority to fire FBI directors. Now, Trump's lawyers also argue that even if that infamous Lester Holt interview looks bad, because of course Trump bizarrely admitted the one thing you can't admit about firing an FBI director, that he did it with a probe on his mind. But in the same interview, Trump also said something that his lawyers argue now provides a defense to obstruction, that he knew the investigation would continue.
Want, very simply, a great FBI director. I want to get to the bottom of everything having to do with this and many other things. So important.
And will you expect that they would continue on with this investigation?
Oh, yeah, sure. I expect that.
Now, that's an interesting defense as far as it goes. And no one knows what Mueller will find or do next, just like no one knew that today Mueller was indicting another person for obstructing justice in this probe, a person currently residing in Russia who worked with Manafort. Here's what we do know, though. In this entire year here, since Comey first told this history under oath, the evidence and even advocacy of obstruction has been growing, from these guilty pleas and indictments from people around the Trump campaign to the new rhetoric, or if you want to call it that, of Trump allies and insiders saying maybe people should destroy evidence in this probe or defy Mueller because he's allegedly going to frame people anyway. So let's be clear. We're not living through normal times. People in government and public life in the United States don't typically minimize felonies like obstruction, let alone admit to specific elements of obstruction. But what Bob Mueller knows after more than 4 decades as a prosecutor as well as head of the FBI is that if you're obstructing, if you're covering up, it's not usually because you're innocent but are looking to do a little witness tampering on the side. The people who obstruct investigations typically do so because they have something to hide. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.